Alright, so in this video I'm going to be showing you how to install the Electronic Co. Tuttio kit onto the Tuttio Solano. So first thing you gotta do is take your sheet off, and then you have to take the battery out. It's gonna be hooked up to this. So take that off and then take your battery out, put it to the side. And then so we already did some stuff to it, so there's gonna be the side panels that'll be on like this. There'll be bolts here, here, and here that you're gonna have to unscrew. And that should come off. There's gonna be one on the other side too. And then next thing you want to do, the thing you're gonna want to pull off, there's gonna be bolts on the back side right here, and then 2 bolts right here, here. This one's gonna be a little bit harder to get off, but you're just gonna have to there's a bolt thing right there. Alright, and then there's 4 bolts right here. They look like these big bolts. They're right here. Those ones are kind of hard to get off. You gotta make sure you have the right Allen edge. I know I'm pretty tight, but those are gonna be what release the motor. That way you can pull it up like this. And then the controller was connected through bolts. These bolts. Allen wrench, I forgot what size. But they're like in these little holes. They'll be on there, and there's 3 on this side, 3 on this side. And then that will be what you have to use to take the controller off. And then you have to get the throttle cable out. And if you have a fender on, you might want to loosen some bolts on the fender. That way you can pull the cable out. I kind of got mine a little bit pulled out, but so let's take that off. So you gotta take out the controller like that with the logo. You should all be connected. And you can take this little panel off. And then there's zip tie. I don't know if you guys will have it, but we zip tied ours to that. I think this is the brake. Yeah, the brake. Well, it should basically all come out except show. What's the cup door? This is what connects the battery. So it should all come out, and if you take this off, that's the only thing that's going to be connected through the bike. So that will be your motor, your battery off. And oh, one thing to do before you take off the motor, it'll be connected through this part right here. That'll be where the chain belongs. So make sure you want to unhook your chain from right there. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time and you'll be pulling off your chain. Alright, so we're going to need to flip the bike back over. That way we can take the throttle off to get this off. Okay, so after you get your bike flipped over, I'm just putting mine on my kickstand. You can use a stand if you want, but I think the kickstand will just be easier. There's a little bolt right under the display and above the key. You're going to want to take a pretty small Allen wrench and then loosen that. I would recommend doing it like this because it's going to be way harder to spin it. Let's get that in there and just break it pretty much. Okay, after you break the bolt, you just loosen it like this, and then you don't have to take it all the way out, then it should just come out. And then the bolt that you're supposed to, or not the bolt, the wire that you're supposed to take out earlier in the video should be like this. I think I gotta get it through here actually first. There. And then you should just be able to pull it all the way off. And then your throttle will be off. You can just put that to the side. And that should be about everything that we need to take off to install it. Because it should come with new controller, new motor, new battery. And it comes with a throttle too, so you won't really need to save that old one. And this should be what it looks like when it's all gutted. Of course, you might, once you get the new motor, you're gonna want to put your chain back on. That should be about it though. We'll see you tomorrow on Thursday when our kit ships in from Electron. And then we'll make a video installing it. Probably just resuming this one. Huh?
Where is it at?
Huh?
Right there.
Alright, so we're gonna use a brand new one because that one didn't seem to be working too well. So that's the first one, and then we were spraying WD-40 in it, that way the metal bits didn't get too hot. Alright, but now we're gonna start on this one, so do the same process. Alright, and there's the second one. Alright, so the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to grab your new motor. And you can take these stickers off if you want to. You don't really need to. I'm going to. If I can. Actually, I'll just leave it on. Just go give a candle. But then you're just going to get this wire that you push it down as you put the motor in. Because there's a little tunnel for it to run through over here. And then now it's on there, you can push the motor in. And then you're gonna want to make sure the motor, there's like holes, you want to make sure they're both aligned with either the new holes that you just drilled in or the ones that you already had. It kind of just depends on the bike that you're in. And then you're gonna want to put this on top. And once that's there, you're gonna want to take your new bolts. They should have. They are M8X30mm. They look like these. So you want to take that out. Once your motor is lined up, you're going to want to just push those into forward. And then kind of look under here when you're doing it yourself to make sure it's all aligned. But this is going to be one of the harder parts, I would say. Once you get one of them lined up, you can kind of just leave it and then grab one more. There should be 4 bolts in this phone. And then you want to take this one after that one's all lined up. See if this one can get in there. A little bit crooked. That's all you can say. Not going in the best. And then you should have some spacers in a bag. This one's gonna be M8X12. So you should be only 2 of them. That should be all you need. Here's 2 of them. They look like this. So you wanna, once you get one bolt aligned, I'm gonna put a spacer in here. And then line that up. And then you're gonna wanna take one of your other MX, or M8 times 30, 30. And then once that's lined up, you can go ahead and screw that in. And then do the same thing. And then you want to do the same thing on this side. Line that one up. Okay, now that those are all in, this one should be all aligned. Allen wrench. This one's even lined up. Then you're gonna just want to get all of them pretty nice and tight. Okay, I'm gonna actually use this instead of one of these. You can use either one, but these ones I think are way easier to use. So I'm gonna go like that. I'm loosening it. Okay, that should start getting tight. And go with this bolt. You're gonna want to just get them nice and tight. Yep. Alright, and that should be good for the motor part of it. Alright, so this is gonna be the next thing you need. You're gonna start by taking all your wires that are coming out of this and your brake line, and just get those all through that little hole. And then you want to line it up with the 4 spots where you can put your bolts. So here, here, and then there's 2 over here, right here, and here, kind of near the wires. And then you're gonna want to take a 4mm wrench, and then the bolts that you already have took out that were in these spots. You should have like the most of these type of bolts than any other of the bolts. So then once you get your Allen wrench, I'm gonna start by putting these 2 in first. Here and here, that way I can get lined up. I'm gonna screw them up to my fingers, that way I know they're all lined up. And then I'm gonna start tightening it. That's tight. And then you're gonna take 2 more of the same bolts that you just grabbed, and 2 parts right here. I'm gonna do the same thing by screwing them in my fingers first. If I can. want to make sure it's lined up. Put this down. Down and start tightening it. This will be hold us. I'm gonna move this wire out of the way first. So start tightening like that. Just until you can really like get it in there. And then once that one's pretty good in there, you're gonna want to put this one in there. And then you can start tightening them all the way. Tight. And that's tight. Okay, and then the next part we're gonna need though is you're gonna need to take your controller. Alright, so when we were taking all the stuff off, we looked and we actually did miss a step. You have to take your old controller, probably still connected to the motor. And there's these 4 bolts on the controller that will make it so it will actually release the controller. And there's nuts on the back right here. So you're gonna need an Allen key and a screwdriver to hold the nuts. So you're gonna wanna get your wrench in place, and then right here, and you're gonna wanna start loosening this while holding this. Okay, it should be loose now. Yep. Okay, so this. Oh, there's this screw in. I'm gonna grab that. So this is what it looks like, and then you're just gonna repeat it here, here, and here. Put that in our little dish. Just do the same thing. Okay, so after you do the controller thing, you should have 4 of these nuts, I think they're called. And then you're gonna wanna take the M625mm, and then those will go into the controller. So this is a new controller bracket, and then the controller like kind of lines up like this when it's lined up with these holes. So you want to make sure it's all lined up with the 4 holes on the corners. And then you're going to want to take your bolts. And then you want to just, I'm going to just place it in there first, that way I can line them all up. Just dropped it. Alright, so now that all of them in, you're going to want to take you're going to want to take these, and then you're going to want to put them around the things that you just put in. I'm just going to slightly tighten it, that way it'll just stay on for now. What was that? And it's pretty much just the same process for each nut screw. Okay, so after you have just the bolt and the nut on like each other, then you can take your Allen key and then your wrench, the same wrench that you used to take off on the other controller, and then now you just want to tighten it. Alright, once that's tight, you just want to repeat the process on the other 3 bolts that you have. Okay, so once you get your controller all lined up like this, it's not gonna come off, and you tighten all these, you're gonna want to take your brake line and it's gonna run through right here, like this, and then you want to line it up with the 3 bolts you can see on the sides. There's one here, 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 and here, here, and here. So you're gonna want to take the original bolts that look like this. They were already like connecting the controller there, and you want to make sure it's lined up good, perfectly and like straight. This part kind of takes a while. So once you get one lined up, it should just be able to hold it up like this, and then you can grab all your ones. I have mine in a little like mesh over here, and then you kind of just want to get them all popped in. Alright, there's one lined up, and then you just want to get them all screwed in here, 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 and here. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this wiring harness. The end should look like this. From the front part should look like this. And there's like a red wire kind of sticking out. And you want to make sure it's lined up right. And it's like the middle wiring part. And then so once you have this plugged in, take this, run up from here. And this part too, right here. Like that all run up. And then you're gonna need to start connecting these wires. And you can kind of connect it down here. You're gonna want to take this down like here on this. That way I can get it down there. You're gonna want to get this down here, and you're gonna want to connect the green to the green to the green, the yellow to the yellow. And then this blue one, it's kind of a different shade if you can see it. This blue part, it's actually going to connect to what right here looks like purple. Okay, so what we did off camera is we screwed this in, screwed this in, screwed this in, screwed this in. But when you plug this in, which should be the harness and stuff, you want to make sure this red wire goes underneath the big red wire. And then you screw the black in here. And then we took this black part right here, and then we took that and it wires up to this. It comes out like by where the motor is. So that plugs into there. And then the throttle will be plugging in here. And then I think this is for the on and off switch. And I think this might be for like the display. Alright, so I put the throttle on, hooked it up through here. Put the light on, hooked it up through here. I ran the wires down in front of my plate, and then they come out down here, like in between there, and come to there. And I did just the same thing with the on and off switch. And then if you have a display, you can plug it in here, but we don't have the mount for it. I think they didn't send us it on accident. We'll probably talk to the customer service about that. But yeah, that's it. Alright, so we got this part on using the original ones that we took off because there's spots for that. So the next thing we're going to want to do is take this part off by loosening this bolt and this bolt. Alright, so you just put the battery in. You want to make sure this is on this side and this is on that side. This will plug into that. Don't plug it in quite yet. And before you even use your battery, you want to make sure it's fully charged. Okay, so next you're going to want to take your 1032 3/4 spacer, and then you want to screw in your 1032 3/8 bolt into this spacer. And there's going to be two spacers, 2 bolts. So you're going to want to repeat the process 2 times. It'll look like this after you screw it into the spacer. Okay, so with the 2 spacers, the spacers here, and then you put the spring on, and then what's under the spring is the shoulder bolt that you put in through here, and then you just do the same thing with these. And you should have 2 of them. Alright, so after you get the spacers and this part on correctly, you're going to want to take your M4 x 8mm flathead screwdriver, and then you're going to want to screw them in from the bottom. That way from the top it looks like this. And then for the next part, you're going to want to line this up like this with these 3 holes. And then you're going to use the same M4 x 8mm flathead screwdriver bolts to bolt that in. Okay, so we got the display mounted right here, on and off switch right here, the throttle right here, and everything's all working. Yeah, and we kind of just wired everything. We put it behind our plate and then ran through the sides right here.